It's usually characterized by three things. So it'll be sensory issues, communication challenges, and then socialization. Those are really the three big categories. Everybody brings a whole different set of strengths to all those different areas, and that's truly why it is a spectrum. And I think focusing on maybe our similarities with all of each other versus the differences and focus on our strengths, I think can really help to bring out the best in people.
You're on a mission, and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer, so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. Hey, we're actually live. Yay. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. I am very excited because today we are talking with the Thompson Foundation for Autism. And so I've known Myles for a really long time, and actually his wife Laura helped counsel me through raising a sensitive toddler. And she helped me through this journey by sharing information that she understood because of working with their son Blake, who has autism. And I was like, wow. This is amazing. Like, it's totally revolutionary to me. I had no idea. So it was everything from like calming her and getting her out of the house to getting her to eat foods that she'd never eaten before. And since it's Autism Awareness Month, I felt like, wow, I learned so much from the things that Laura shared with me that I felt like everyone else could probably learn a lot too, about how understanding autism can actually improve communication for all of us. So let's kick it off by Myles and Katie. Why don't you tell us who you are and like what you do at the Thompson Foundation?
Go ahead, Katie.
Okay, great. Thank you, Monica, for having us here today. My name is Katie Lentz, and I am the Director of Donor Relations for the Thompson Foundation. I joined the organization in November of 2020, and it's been a great journey for me learning all about autism, exactly what you're talking about today, best ways to communicate both with people on the spectrum and about autism. So that's a lot of the work that I do in the marketing and communicating with our donors.
So yeah, thanks, Monica. Myles Hinkel, the Executive Director of the Thompson Foundation for Autism. So provide strategic direction, fundraising, all kinds of good stuff for the foundation here as we support the Thompson Center. So been involved, obviously, the other day was World Autism Day, or at our house, also known as Every Day. But we're thrilled you guys are doing this, and thanks for having us.
So I think that first we should let people know what autism is. I mean, I know a lot of people have heard of it, but after like doing your website, and I actually like went through and like read your What is Autism page before I posed the question, because I wanted to like have a better understanding. So talk me through that.
So autism it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it was characterized, I think, by Dr. Ben Black here at the Thompson Center really well, which is it's multiple things. It's autisms, if you will. We know that there are different biomarkers for autism. We know that there are different subgroups. We know there are probably multiple environmental factors. So it's really, we talk about this broad spectrum of folks with autism. It's probably multiple autisms, if that makes sense.
So much more research to figure out all of the things, right?
That's right.
Regardless of where people are on that spectrum, since there is such a broad adjustment in people and their abilities, they all interpret the world around them differently, right? So tell me a little bit how autism affects how a person interprets the world around them.
Yeah, so it's usually characterized by three things. So it'll be sensory issues, whether that's audio, light, that type of thing, communication challenges, and then socialization. Those are really the three big categories that we look at with folks on the spectrum. So everybody brings a whole different set of strengths to all those different areas, and that's truly why it is a spectrum. And I think focusing on maybe our similarities with all of each other versus the differences and focus on our strengths, I think can really help to bring out the best in people.
I agree. And then, so you guys have a unique role at the foundation, and you guys partner with the center to help families and individuals affected by autism. So tell me how you help them. What do you do?
Sure. So the Thompson Center for Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders supports families and children affected by autism and many other neurodevelopmental disorders. And they focus on clinical services, which include diagnostic services as well as therapies. They also have an educational component that includes training. And then finally, the last part is research. So clinical trials, pharma studies, things like that. And how the foundation steps in is we support all of that work. So a large portion of the funding for the center comes from our foundation. So when people support us, they are directly supporting the center. And along with that, we do also share resources with other centers across the nation, as well as some advocacy work. But primarily, we're serving the families here in mid-Missouri.
Awesome. And I know that that's like one of the challenges that you guys face in your marketing is that you are so closely aligned with the center, but you are the foundation. And so I know that when we first started talking, I kept like interchanging the two names. And we also like uncovered a couple other like really fun marketing challenges to sort through. As you guys were in my inaugural class of the nonprofit marketing plan workshop attendees, Katie was like one of my star pupils because she like did everything and got it done on time. And, you would think that, or you might not think that having a great overachiever in the group could be like intimidating to others, but everybody actually said that they felt like inspired by the fact that Katie got the work done. And they were like, I can do it now. So one of the things that we realized in our consulting session, other than, the center versus the foundation, was that, most of your supporters understood that there needed to be more research done to serve people with autism and their families, but that they didn't understand what was holding you back from doing more. So tell me about what's holding you guys back from being able to achieve helping more families.
Sure. So the CDC estimates that 1 in 54 children worldwide are on the autism spectrum. So that's a prevalence that has greatly increased in recent years. And with that, the demand for diagnostic and clinical services has gone up as well. So currently here at the Thompson Center, there are over 1,100 children that are waiting to receive a diagnosis, with 900 of those being autism-specific evaluations. And so what that translates for families is over a year, sometimes, of waiting for those services. So the diagnosis is just the first step. And then after they receive that diagnosis of autism, there are other services that may be able to help them in their journey, like different therapies. But then there are wait lists for that as well. So that's such a great challenge for both us here in the center and the families that we're trying to serve.
Overcoming the wait list.
Yes.
And then, so I have a question like spinning off from what you just said. You said that there was like an increase in diagnosis. So do you feel like that's just because people are becoming more aware of symptoms and maybe more welcoming to treatments and therapies, or do you attribute it to something else?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. So I think as you provide a good service, you start to hear word of mouth. We fielded phone calls from parents out of state, and within 3 months, they sold a house and sold a business and moved to this area for the services. So I think the theme of the rising tide raises all ships comes into play. And then also, I think there is more awareness. It's a little bit more in the news now. I think when Bill and Nancy Thompson first started the center and then the foundation, it wasn't, almost 15, 17 years ago, it wasn't as much in the news just yet. So it was really a lot more questions surrounding it. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Now, since we're going to focus a little bit of our time here on communication back and forth, tell me, what are some ways that we can shift our communication patterns or routines to better adapt and communicate with individuals with autism?
I think there's several different ways. I think depending on both their receptive and expressive language. I think one, really listening, like truly listening. Are you truly listening and not just waiting to say whatever you want to say when they're done speaking? I think that's part of it. I think communicative devices can work for some children and individuals on the spectrum. It could be an iPad, it could be another device. Storyboards are huge with pictures. Let's say you're going to travel somewhere and you want to go through that scenario with an individual on the spectrum, depending on where they are in the spectrum. Having a storyboard with the pictures of where you're going to go and how you're going to get there and what it's going to look like when you end up there is huge. And so I think that's something, just anecdotally, here's, for example, like if we host a dinner party and Blake will be in the room with us and a few other people, and somebody will turn to me and say, "Hey, Myles, what does Blake like to do? What kind of are some of the things he's into?" And I'll turn to that person and I'll go, "Well, go ask him." And I'm partially doing that on purpose so that they'll kind of get out of their comfort zone and really interact with him. So I think there are a number of different little strategies like that you can utilize.
Another one that comes to mind for me is literal speech versus figurative speech, like saying, "Oh, this is easy," versus, "Oh, it's a piece of cake." Someone on the spectrum might be expecting a piece of cake to be given to them if you're using a phrase like that, or moving even into the work world, say on the job description, if you say flexible, maybe somebody's interpreting that literally versus, maybe flexibility and adaptation, things like that. So I think there are ways that we can all think about our speech and how we're communicating clearly for people on the spectrum.
I do that. So we just got back from Mexico, and I use a lot of weird slang speech that are just, I don't even know where I got them half the time. Even just this morning, I thought something about, it's raining like the Dickens. I'm like, what? Where did that even come from? And so I was trying to communicate with Enoch, who is the person that takes care of us when we travel in Mexico. And we're texting back and forth. And I'm like, I can't say it that way. That doesn't even make sense to a non-native speaker. And so, yeah, it definitely was. I could see how it could get crossed in communication if you're not really clearly communicating. Myles, I love the way that you said really listening, because I think that as business people, as leaders, as parents or spouses or marketers, like interpreting what someone's really saying and thinking about why they're saying it or where they're actually coming from, what they actually mean in what they're saying, because we're saying it's a piece of cake instead of it's easy, is huge. Absolutely. And then the last comment that I had with like storyboards, just relating this back to like the nonprofit promotional world, one of the things we've been talking about a lot is a nonprofit success path. Like people come in at this one spot and then they leave at this other spot, right? Putting that into a storyboard for someone makes it so much easier to understand, because you understand it, but they don't always understand it. So these are things that you guys implement for people and families with autism that really we should probably just do on a regular basis because they're just great practice, right?
Yeah, a lot of the principles apply for sure.
Are there any communication techniques that you've learned from your experiences that you've been applying to other aspects of life that you want to share with people?
Yeah, I think the really listening one is huge, and then appreciating any kind of communication initiation. So by that I mean our son's speech, for example, is very telegraphic. It's "Daddy, go store." But that's huge in and of itself because he is initiating. It may be a little atypical or not in the norm, but he's initiating an interaction with you, and that's huge. So it's not always what he's expressing or how he's expressing it. It's the fact that he's doing that, and that's a big, big first step.
And then how do you appreciate it? Do you just immediately acknowledge him or tell him thank you, or what works?
Yeah, and I think also times drawing additional speech out of him. So if given the chance, he'll kind of default to only using 2 or 3 words, but really getting him to use full sentences and kind of bring it out of him. So
you're like a coach.
It does help to be married to a speech pathologist. I will say that. So.
Laura's a rock star. How about you, Katie? Have you learned anything?
I've been understanding more that structure is something that very much helps people on the spectrum. So I've been thinking of ways that we can structure conversations or like time in the office. Even something like an agenda that is very helpful for a lot of different meetings could be helpful for someone on the spectrum as well. So, just understanding that a structure can help so many of us, but especially someone with autism is something that I've been considering as well.
You guys are awesome. Okay, so anything else that you guys want to add? I know this is like an awesome week, an awesome month for you with autism awareness. Anything else that you want to tell people?
Yeah, we're in growth mode. You heard Katie talk about our demand for service. It's huge. I mean, the equivalent would be like you tweak your back and imagine calling your orthopedic specialist and they're like, we can get you in about a year. I mean, that's just, I know it's not acceptable to Bill and Nancy that founded the center. I know it's not acceptable to the clinicians and the staff here, and certainly not acceptable to tell the families. So we're going to work our tails off to rectify that. But we need to hire the medical professionals to do that. We've got to renovate and expand the clinical space, and even bolster research as well. So we've got a lot to do, and our families deserve it. And we've got a short period of time to do it. So that's jump on board, and we're in growth mode. So,
and even just adding Katie to your team is definitely an indicator of growth mode, because Katie just came on this last December, right?
That's right. And yeah, I think the mark of a good leader is surrounding yourself with good people and knowing how to put a team together. So I couldn't be happier with having her as a teammate.
Thank you. And another thing along that line is that here at the Thompson Center, it's associated with a great university. And so because of that, they can grow their own here. They're working on fellowship programs, and fellows that come in and can learn here, really train here, but also retain those folks as well. And, other people will go other places, but once they see how great the Thompson Center is, a lot of people want to stay. So that's also key to the strategy as well.
Great. Attracts great, right? With
Definitely.
I'm so happy that you guys are finding success both in growing your team and growing your program and having people stay around. Tell people how to contact you or how to make a gift.
Sure. We've got a great website, thompsonfoundation.org, thanks to May Create. We're also active on all social media platforms. So Facebook, we're Thompson Foundation for Autism. On Twitter and Instagram, we are TF Autism. And then we're also on LinkedIn as well. So please connect with us. You can find a donate button on our page as well on our website.
Thank you so much for your time today, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Monica, we really appreciate it.
Okay, so I forgot though, before I wrap up, I just wanted to let anybody who is just catching us at the end, I want to let you guys know that we are going to put this out on our Marketing with Purpose podcast. So you can always catch it out there in the coming weeks. And so until next time, go forth and market with purpose.